You're watching Creative Sound Lab. This is a weekly TV show, recording tips, pointers, and a whole lot more. Today, as a 4-year veteran of owning a recording studio, I'd like to kind of give you some insight how I've survived as a studio and how I've done it debt-free. So I've been, in the studio world for quite a while now, more than just 4 years at this very location here. Before that, I used a variety of different relationships, trade deals, finagling, just to make stuff happen. And it really comes down to 3 key ingredients that I've used to survive and do it debt-free. The first one is relationships. Relationships are extremely important. I've used relationships for just about everything that I need. I've gotten free studio space for a year at one location and 2 years at another location. I've also used relationships to build and supply studio gear. So all these amps, the drums, pianos, organs, all those things are through relationships, whether it's a trade for a recording project or it's maybe a service like the piano tuner needs some help on his website and I can do that for him. So we make a trade each month to keep my piano in tune and his website current and up to date. And finally, the clients that you get are, of course, relationships. So if you need second, third, fourth generational clients, well, you don't have to pay for advertising to get them. So essentially, relationships open up the entire world for building your studio. If you need help actually constructing a soundproof live room, well, is there somebody in your community that needs a recording project that is in the construction business? So my next key ingredient for surviving as a debt-free studio is to always value my work. Even if I didn't have proof of what it was worth, say $250 for a day or $500 for a day, even if I don't exactly have proof for exactly what my time is worth, I still put a number out there. This number serves as a starting point. So if somebody can't afford $250 a day, for example, well, I say, okay, what realistically can you afford? They come back with, I can record $50 a day. And I say, okay, well, is there anything that's around $200 that you may want to sell me? Or maybe you want to do a whole weekend, a 3-day weekend. So do you have something that's $600 that you could just give to me and then pay me $150 for the 3 days? So it's always a starting point for any sort of trade in that relationship that you have. So always value your work. Another thing is that putting a dollar amount on your time, the worth of your studio, it's really going to communicate a value, but also a commitment. So now you have a basis for requiring a deposit. And that's something that I've always done. Now, I have broken that rule several times, and it always comes back and nips me in the butt. So I typically charge a 40% deposit, making sure that they're committed, they're ready to go. I just say, I'll put you on the studio calendar whenever I get your deposit. So it very easily sorts out the people that are serious, the people that are not serious, and you don't waste your time either. The deposit also is critical because if I have, say, my piano tuner come in, I repair equipment, I might even buy something special for that session. Well, I'll go ahead and do any of that work within that window of time when the deposit isn't refundable anymore. So I know that for sure thing, I'll have at least a small chunk of money for this session. Even if they cancel, I won't be exposed. If I hire a video guy, am I going to be out money to him if my band doesn't show up the day of? And that's happened. So a deposit is a basis. Of course, that's derived from your value, the dollar value of what you're offering. Now, my third key ingredient for running a debt-free studio is to really don't buy anything you can't pay right then and there. Of course, you have catalogs coming from big stores, music stores in the Midwest. You have studio gear, superstores, New York City, Nashville, LA. You have all these places that'll give you credit, no interest, 12 months. You could even go and start a business and get a line of credit at a bank. Still, you can do a credit card and you can just shift money from credit to credit, and eventually you'll have to pay it. But instead of shifting around all the debt between various means and credit cards and things, I've chosen not to deal with that. I'd rather go ahead, use the gear that I have, absolutely master it. And really, it doesn't impede my ability to create great music. The problem here is that if I were to buy a bunch of gear, and let's say I do debt-free for 12 months or whatever it is, well, eventually I will have to make payments on that. And those payments may be $300, $400, $500 a month because I've bought so much gear. And eventually I have to charge more. I have to double my rates, triple my rates to even survive. Then your clients are coming in, they're all stressed out. You're stressed out because all of a sudden it's an hourly environment. It's not by the project anymore. You start penny pinching and nitpicking over your cost and things, which, those are good habits to have, but it's just the stress involved in everybody. These are all stresses that are caused by that initial debt. And you can avoid that by just really focusing on gear buying strategy. It's just a strategy that I use, and I've put it in a PDF for you. If you'd like to download it, you can use the link below. It's a strategy that I've used to never upgrade, to always buy something best of class, and make sure that if I can't afford something that's $5,000, but I have, say, $350, then at least I'm buying an SM7 for $350. Now, I can always use, no matter how much I grow, no matter how my ears develop, I'll probably always have a use for that SM7. So I'm never going to trash and throw away that SM7. So I never have to reinvest that $350. But I may be at that point later where I'm investing $5,000 for a vintage Neumann or something. So it's just a matter of a gear buying strategy. You can see the PDF link for that below. It's a free download. Okay, so Jeff from Greenville, South Carolina asked me this question in an email. Seems like the bands that I have coming to me to record are bands that don't have much money to record. How do we get out of this rut? You too can also email me at ryan@creativesoundlab.tv. But how does Jeff get out of this rut? Well, really, it goes back to setting your value. You have to know what you have to work with. So do you have $50 to work with? Do you have $500 to work with? And really, you have to try to pass on what is owed to you in some sort of trade, whether it's a service or an item they may have that they don't use anymore. You got to have kind of a starting point so you know what to work with. Maybe it's $100. So they say, okay, we can't afford $100 because we need like 5 days of recording. That's $500. That's like the cost of my apartment for a month. We can't do that, man. So you say, okay, well, how much can you afford? They say $20. You're left with basically $400 still on the table. Okay, they're giving you $20 a day. And instead of $500, you're only getting $100 for 5 days, and there's $400 that still has to be made up with something. And it's just a starting point. So is there anything that they have? Is it old gear? Is it something they can help you with for a week at your studio? Maybe they're in construction. They know how to put in a big studio window or soundproof your walls or something. But really, what's really slick is if you can take $400 and take it and actually try to buy something through that trade agreement that's maybe worth $1,000. So maybe there's something that is worth $1,000, and maybe they have an old boat or a canoe or something that's just fun to have, and maybe that's something that you wanted to buy for you and your girlfriend or whatever. Well, now you can have that because you're only using $400 worth of your value of what you're providing, but you're getting something that's worth $1,000. It's convenient for them because they don't have to shell out the cash. It's convenient for you because you kind of wanted that. As long as it's something that you need, then it works out and it's really cool. So always try to start with your value. Don't be afraid to be confident in the value that you provide. If it's $250, then say, look, I really think it's worth $250. If you can't afford it, that's cool. Let's just try to work something out as a trade agreement. So I hope that helps with you, Jeff. If you want to write me, you can do so just like Jeff did at ryan@creativesoundlab.tv. I'll see you next week.